and welcome back to the Wittiots podcast.
Hello.
Hi.
Was that a female voice on the Wittiots podcast?
Oh, I don't know. Is it?
Wait, oh, you're right. Is it the first time? I guess we've only had Elijah and
Pops.
Carmen. Pops. Yeah, it's been all dudes. It's been a straight sausage fest.
Representation.
Just give us new buzzwords the whole time.
Yes.
Okay.
We're equal opportunity. It's just we forget to be equal. Oh, wait a minute. We're at the Point Park Center for Media Innovation.
That's the first thing.
We're off to a hot start.
Yeah. And now our very special guest for the for this week's episode, Hannah Daniel.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
How do we know her?
Oh, Hannah's my girlfriend.
Uh-huh.
What do you mean? Uh-huh.
I do get preferential treatment.
Just a little bit. But it's okay because we love you anyways.
And back up, nigga. I don't know what you doing. Who you talking about loving over here?
Okay, guys. So, we got a fun little week of information to talk about. First and foremost, same shit as always. Trump is trumping it up. This whole border wall thing, the shutdown's in like almost a month now.
It's a new record. Well, been a new record.
Yeah, it's been new.
Yeah, we've been new. This was new.
Exactly. Apparently he's gonna be giving some sort of proposal now for like to try to shut it down or to stop.
Yeah.
And
he just made an announcement about possibly opening up protection for dreamers in I guess, or like in exchange for more funding for the border wall. Which is like, it's a very interesting thing for him to do, especially since if his stance is so like against, anti like immigration.
For him to be like,
yeah.
well, some. After all
we
this
have a
time of
quota
holding
to
out.
hit.
Yeah.
Ooh, they do.
Also, wow, we are really screwing up. Hannah, please introduce yourself.
Oh my God, yes.
No,
where
I'm
do
a
you go
staple here.
Where do you go to school? Oh, what's your major? I don't know.
I go to
Any
Spotlight
fun fact
Elementary
you?
School.
This your girlfriend?
Yeah, it's like chill.
Hi. Yeah, my name is Hannah. I go to Carnegie Mellon University.
University.
It's very different than the Carnegie Mellon University. And I study biology. I'm also studying creative writing.
Ooh.
You know, a fun fact about me is, oh, thank you guys. Wow, I'm a very interesting person. So you'll, you know,
Of course.
it'll be important to listen to this.
I'm ready.
Oh, I mean, a really fun fact is that one time I was in a trapeze show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was in a trapeze show, which was pretty cool.
How are you just gonna drop that and not explain?
Well, I'll circle back. But my second, my second like fun fact, a little more about me is I'm from Virginia. I'm from a little bit, like about 2 hours outside of where these guys went to high school. I grew up hating Northern Virginia because that's what part of Virginia I'm from.
They hate us because they ain't us.
I come from
They're the
15,
anus of Virginia.
come from 15 minutes outside of West Virginia. So yeah. Oh yeah, and I'm also a sophomore. So, but going back to the trapeze show. So I went to a resort in Mexico. My grandparents were celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary. Very exciting.
Oh wow.
When was this?
This was a couple of years ago. It was right before my senior year of high school. And every day on the resort, I was like, I want to do trapeze. And I'm like really afraid of heights, but I did it anyway, and it was super fun. And every week they have like a different slate of events at night. And on one of the nights they had like a trapeze show. So anyone who had mastered a trapeze like jump, like hang by your knees and get caught by another person and then like drop, like whoever mastered that was able to perform in the show. So like the resort came and everyone like sat around, and then I got to perform. I just like jumped on the little trapeze, put my knees up, hung down, got caught, got thrown. It was a fun time. And I wore a unitard. It was sweaty, probably hadn't been washed, real gross. But yeah, it was super cool, and that's like a fun fact I tell because I haven't done anything like that since. I don't know if I'll ever do it again, but it was really fun.
That's crazy. It reminds me of when we were in Orlando and me and Elijah did the Fear Factor thing.
Oh my God.
Over the summer, me, Jen, and Elijah went to Orlando.
We talked about this before. I guess
we didn't talk about the Fear Factor thing, I don't think.
not last season.
Mm-mm.
Oh, I guess we did.
I'm an avid listener.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh Jesus.
It's weird. I don't like listen back to the podcasts, even though like I sit there and edit it. Like
yeah,
edit it. I
edited it.
I edited it. I'll just like skip ahead to make sure that the audio is just still lined up, but I want to listen to it again, so I kind of forget what we do every week.
Right.
But anyways, so there's a show in Universal Studios, the Fear Factor show, and they basically
Live.
Fear Factor live. It was very important that everyone knows it's live, and the way they cast people is basically like a couple hours or like maybe an hour before the actual show. They have like an open casting call where you go and you audition, which is basically like, can you follow instructions and are you stupid? So
do you want to eat a bug?
Exactly.
Well,
Pops,
Eat a bug.
so
Pops ate.
Pops threw down some bugs. He there's like 3 different challenges or like 3 different groups of people that they had audition. So there was people who would do like the physical stunts, which were what me and Elijah ended up doing. There's people who would do like mental stuff. I don't remember. I didn't get to watch the actual show.
It was like they put you in a cage and they drop bugs on you.
Yeah,
and you gotta like not freak out.
And it's like a mental type thing. And then there's like an eating portion, which Pops did, where they basically, I guess, I didn't get to watch the show. So like, what was it?
Oh, they took a whole bunch of nasty stuff and just blended it, and he just yeet.
Wait, so
and I
you
was
guys
like,
were on episode? Like a
no, it was live.
It was a Universal Studios stage show. So
Gotcha.
we were on that, but it wasn't like filmed or anything.
I would film the whole thing.
It's funny when Darian's filming the whole thing, because we were like, oh, like we want to see this.
Because I was like, hell no, I'm not doing none of this.
We got in line and we turned around and Darian's like there. We're like, Darian, are you gonna? He's like, that's some white people shit. No. So in the recording of, at least for the Pops portion where he throws that shot back, they have like these little shot glasses, and that's what they poured the concoction into, and they had like a row of people.
It was like a 2 shots, honestly. It was pretty thick.
It was pretty thick. And as they're getting ready to do it, and the audience is like, are you guys ready? And you just hear Darian in the background go like, treat it like a shot! And then of course Pops goes, boink! And throws the whole thing back. But yeah, when we did the physical challenge thing, which like, come on. Physical challenge. Alright. They take us backstage, and it was like an ex like Navy SEAL and like a CrossFit guy, and then me and Elijah. And they're like, okay, we want you to do like a recorded intro thing, a video. Because like before every episode they'd be like, hi, my name is Tiffany and I am so cool, and or whatever.
Shout out Tiffany,
honestly, what a god.
To Tiffany's.
So I went in there and recorded
not sponsored by Tiffany's.
Not sponsored by Tiffany's. I went in there and recorded mine because I was the first one in like I just happened to be the first one in the line, and so I go in there, I'm like, hi, my name is Michael. I was like, I'm not afraid to lose, or whatever I said.
That's ballsy.
And then the next guy goes in, he's like the Navy SEAL, he's like, I'm not, whatever, like, dope. And then the next guy goes in, he's like, yeah, I'm strong, blah, blah. And then Elijah's dumbass goes in there, and we can hear it, like, it's like a sound, like little small sound studio.
And I got the film of they did all the cinematic editing and shit, and Elijah comes up.
So, when we were in the trailer beforehand, where they record the video and the audio for that is like a small little sound booth thing, but you can barely hear like the muffled, like what they're saying. And so Elijah goes in and we're sitting there and he goes, hi, my name is Elijah King. I'm gonna win because I have the power of God and anime on my side. And then I hear the person recording like laugh, and they're like, okay, so like that was good. You forgot to say where you're from, and he's like, oh shoot, okay, I got you. And so then he has to record it again, and it's like, hi, my name is Elijah. I'm from Washington D.C. and I'm gonna win because I have the power of God and anime on my side. The person's just like geeking. They're like, okay, but you have to like. He had to record like 4 times because he kept messing up. So
stupid.
It's me, a Navy SEAL, like a CrossFit expert, just sitting here listening to Elijah be like, God,
apparently he didn't have the power of God and anime.
No, because we lost.
And then going into the final round, after you guys got eliminated, there was like they brought like little kids from the stands to help out, and they were like, because they were like gonna like shoot water cannons at the people. And
wait, so let's explain like how we lost, like how we got out.
Oh yeah, like, and what did you do?
Okay.
So sorry, I didn't mean to cut over you and mansplain, but so we we get into the trailer, like they put us in like these jumpsuit things, these like harnesses, and I vividly remember when they were putting the harnesses on, they brought like an expert guy in, and they're like
expert on harnesses.
Yeah, they're like get it as tight as you can, just like so stuff's popping out. They're like, okay, they're like, don't see those straps, you don't touch them. And then they left. I was like, why don't we touch them?
Immediately touches.
So, and they gave us very little information on what the challenges were going to be.
I mean,
So the first one that they do, they're like, you're just going to hang from a bar from like kind of high up. And we're like, okay, I guess this makes sense. The harness is to hold us up. So we get up to, so they start recording the show. The show starts. And they're like, all right, you guys, it's ready to go. I was like, oh, I'm not ready. Okay, all right, let's go. And we go, and we climb up this first set of stairs, and this next set of stairs. I was like, how high are we going? Are we going to see God himself? What are we doing? We get to the top, and there's like this big dude just like holding a rope, and he's like, all right, I'm holding you. So now we're going to clip you in, and I got you. I was like,
sure.
This doesn't seem safe. So we get up there, and it's like this slanted bar, and they're like, okay, the four of you are going to stand on this, like,
oh, you're going through the whole thing.
Walk the plank. You're going to hold on to this thing, and then the plank's just going to drop, and you have to hold for as long as you can. The last one left is like the winner of that round. So we get up there, and we're like, they drop the plank, and we're holding. And then all of a sudden, they start throwing water and, like, hurricane wind at us, and, like, these machines above. I was like, what's happening? So then, and then, that's a good point, Darren. I'll be a little bit quicker. The first two people out were me and Elijah. I beat Elijah. I want that to be known. And then,
I mean, I have the video, so.
It's true.
Yeah.
And so then basically the winner that got to pick their partner for the next 2 versus 2 thing. And so obviously the Navy SEAL guy won. He didn't pick us. So me and Elijah were a team together, and then those two were a team together. And then the next thing, it was like, I had to reach into a tank of like electric eels and pull out beanbags and then throw them to Elijah, who was like suspended on a rope. And it was like this whole big production. And then he gets like swung down and throws them back at me, and I have to catch them in a it was a whole thing, but we lost. And it was
yeah.
Did you get shocked? Did they shock you? The eels?
No, but they
just wiggly.
It was weird. The outside of the eels, it's like not as smooth as I thought it would be. It was like almost like prickly.
Scaly?
Oh.
No, not scaly. Like
a water snake.
No, water snake. It was like a little like barbed, almost like barbed wire type, but like very, very small.
It
was
Are
weird.
you sure that wasn't the electricity?
It might have been.
Of the eels?
There was some electricity between us, not gonna lie.
Okay. Well, what I was going to say was just that during the last challenge, when they were already out and it was the Navy SEAL and CrossFit guy, they had to go head to head, and they brought in like kids from the stands to like operate the machines that were like spray water and shit at them. And then like the kids were at their positions, and then the announcer lady is like, oh, we have our lovely assistants, and then like the camera pans in front of all the kids, and his kid sees the camera and he just T-poses. It was iconic. So yeah, I like how I had to T-pose like a goddamn
Like a
hummingbird. I don't know.
Yeah. The reason he had to do that, if you're listening, is because we have to all 3 fit in the frame, because we're recording this episode and it's going to be on YouTube. We would love for you guys to go watch it and check it out.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Exactly.
Share with your friends. All that fun stuff.
Smash that motherfucking like button.
Okay,
so now let's finally move on after that big ass tangent.
So you did trapeze?
I mean, there's not much else to that story.
Would you do it again?
Yes. I think I would. It was it was really fun. I know we're supposed to get on track, but
yeah, I mean that was still a tangent. I meant our actual agenda.
It's all right.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I would do it again. I don't know. I actually realized recently that I'm not a fan of like extreme sports, and by extreme sports I mean like skiing and things that I could fall in.
White people sports?
Yes. I mean, I swim, so
swimming is an extreme sport.
Sounds about right.
Exactly.
Sounds about.
You never heard that?
Sounds about.
I've never heard that before.
It's hilarious.
I've never heard that expression.
You've
before.
never heard it?
No.
It's a Twitter thing.
I'm gonna add that to my repertoire.
Exactly.
Yeah. So like, ice skating. Not a fan.
You know, I've never been ice skating.
Wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
It's right there.
It's actually right there.
It's right there. Dear audience.
No, I've never been ice skating. I think I've been roller skating once. Like,
You're not missing
15
much.
years ago.
It hurts your feet. It hurts your shins. You fall.
She's
your
bad
booty
at it.
hurts.
It's a good time.
Not missing much.
Maybe we'll go after we record this.
No, I got stuff to do. I gotta revise the proposal, man. Pitches are on Monday.
Oh yeah.
We're not getting into that.
Okay. Is it something? Do you think it's something where, if you were to do it again, you would try to learn more and like do more extreme stuff, or just do what you did before?
Yeah, actually. So what I was working on, I went there every day, like that. I was at the resort, and when I was working on, I was like doing a split one.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a split. I was able to do the split, but I never got to do the split into like the catch.
Mm-hmm.
There was this little like 7-year-old who was like
A prodigy.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. I was just so offended. That she was,
How rude, honestly.
The audacity of her to be talented. But yeah, she was like doing, there were like multiple things. There were like different like cat's cradley ones, like what you see like Olympic gymnasts do on the bars, like those kind of tricks you can do on a trapeze and then catch with them. So yeah, I mean, I was
showman.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Neither one of you saw it?
No.
There's a trapeze artist. It's Zendaya. She's pretty good.
Wait, Zendaya's a trapeze artist?
Oh, we gotta watch it now.
Yeah, she falls in love with Zac Efron. Relax. Zac Efron's a smoke show.
Zephron.
Zephron?
Mm-hmm. Any Harry Potter, Very Potter musical people out there? Zephron is from that. That like defined my childhood.
Very Potter.
A Very Potter musical.
It's a parody on Harry Potter.
So good.
Is that the Snape?
No, it's like an actual musical.
It's So Star Kid did it. It's an actual musical. There are 3 or 4 of them, and it's incredible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's try to get a little bit on track now. We talked about Trump at the boardwalk just a little bit, but that's really all we need to get into it. We know where we stand. There was did you guys see the Gillette ad that came out this week?
I didn't see it, but I've seen all the heat about it.
You haven't seen it?
I have not seen it.
It's a good ad. It's like it's an interesting that there is so much heat about it, because the ad itself is very like cut and dry, like not controversial. Like it doesn't.
I think the only reason why people are like making a big deal out of it is, okay, first of all, if you haven't seen the advertisement, go watch it, and then this will make more sense. But the general gist of it is that
I'll watch it right now.
It's like we can watch it on air.
I'll watch it. You keep talking. How long is it? I mean, it's an ad.
It's like a minute and a half.
That's a long ass ad. What the fuck?
It's a message.
It's essentially just like, hey, like this whole mentality of like boys will be boys. Like it's a little bit toxic. It's especially worse as if you get older and you allow it to continue to manifest and promote bad behavior. So it's like,
okay.
It's like,
we'll watch it when we're ice skating.
Exactly. It's like, just be the best man you can be. Essentially is what it boils down to. It's like, don't sexually harass people and be a good person. People are like, well, come on, Gillette, hello, chic. I was like, really?
The feminist agenda is ruining my shave.
It's such a weird flex. It's ruining my shave. I think the only reason why it's catching heat is because there's a bunch of guys like, oh man, like, I can't even watch a razor advertisement now without like, the agenda. It's like, dude, like all advertisements, they're either like funny or they're like supposed to make you feel something. And so like, there was a Budweiser ad a couple years ago where it was like a horse that this like guy this guy breeds, and the horse like gets away and it comes together, and it's like, oh, heartfelt. And it's like, okay, it was a Super Bowl ad. It's like, okay, so you're okay with having those heartfelt ads where it's like, oh, like breeding horses, but then when it comes to, hey, let's not be shitty people, it's like, whoa, listen, bro.
Yeah, I think it's also because
I love your guy voice.
Because I'm not a guy.
So I think that it is also. I think a lot of the heat it is catching is also because, not because of like the don't sexually assault people. It's the like boys will be boys mentality is what they're like getting at. So there's a part in the commercial where there are 2 boys like play fighting, and they're just like punching each other, really going at it, and there's like literally like dads barbecuing, and it's like, haha, boys will be boys, and it's like a line of dads barbecuing and watching these kids like duke it out on the ground, and then one dad steps out and he's like, stop fighting. And so I think a lot of people are like masculinity, like this is very important, that like why aren't boys allowed to fight, which is again like it doesn't make sense to me, but that's like where they're getting a lot of heat, because the ad itself isn't like women rule, like everything.
Yeah, it's not malicious and it's not.
Okay. I think that is an interesting point then. I mean, of course, there's the radical people that will get so offended by it, but that kind of thing about like boys fighting, I think there is something, I don't know, like there is, I mean, like me personally, I would want my son to know how to fight. Like I don't think
you can go to karate.
Yeah.
I did karate.
But at the same time, like I don't think like play fighting in and of itself is like a bad thing.
No, I don't think so.
I play fall with my brother all the time.
Yeah,
like,
I play fall with my cousins all the
time. Did he kick your ass?
Oh yeah, I mean he was 8 years older than me, so like.
Yeah, my cousin.
That didn't stir some rage that I take out on other people.
Right.
Like I don't think it's wrong for kids to have that kind to play aggressively, I guess. But like,
I think
there has to be a line. I don't know.
I think the advertisement basically, it's what it's showing is like these two kids play fighting, but it doesn't look aggressive, and it doesn't look like it's gonna have any negative impact. But I think that what they show is a mild version of like what does happen or what can happen. Yeah. And so people see that and they're like, oh, like they're not doing anything wrong. But there's a lot of places where if you see two people like kids play fighting, like they're gonna fuck each other up and they're gonna.
Well, yeah, like if someone gets hurt, then like that needs to stop. But like if I don't know, like
I think like
you play wrestling, whatever.
I think that the idea that Gilette had was to have these boys learning behaviors from their dads. So they see these men fighting, they see these men catcalling, they see these men like making inappropriate gestures in the workplace, and then they in turn internalize those and then like use them themselves. So the idea that like these kids are fighting is like them internalizing like this toxic masculinity. However, taken as an isolated thing, like me and my brother wrestled, he won. I was taller than him and he still won. But like I don't think that kids wrestling in and of itself is a problem, but what people are doing is they're not looking at the message because they're so hypersensitive, so they're taking points of it and they're attacking it.
Yeah, I agree. Well said.
Scholar.
Scholar. Yeah, I think it's interesting though that Twitter in and of itself has this unique platform. Twitter. It has this unique platform to, like when this Gillette ad came out, I didn't even know about it until I started seeing people on Twitter basically be like, "This is bullshit," or like someone like saying this is bullshit, and then like someone quoting it and being like, "No, you're just racist." And I'm like, where is the what? So I think it as like a generation, at least for us, it has this weird ability to kind of shape how we view just the world in general. And so when you put the context of that advertisement in Twitter, where it's basically just two sides arguing, it can gain all this like negative attention when it's really that's the opposite of what its intent is.
Yeah, I would not have seen that advertisement if not for Twitter.
Yeah, I don't watch TV.
True.
I don't shave.
Is Gillette the best a man can get? Just quick question. I mean, I use drugstore brand razors for my lens.
Do I use Gillette? I don't even know what brand I have because I don't shave it often enough. I think I do use Gillette, but it's like cheap ones, like disposable ones.
Yeah, I think I do too.
Nah, whatever.
The best
it works. It gets the job done.
Yeah, that's all that matters.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then another point is that like this ad was not made because Gillette was like, let's take a stand. This ad was made because Gillette knows that like this idea of like political wokeness sells. Like this idea where you can be like
for sure.
as woke as like is acceptable to sell. And so
plus from like a marketing standpoint, they knew that it was going to get a lot of attention, whether it be good or bad.
Yeah.
And
any attention is good attention.
Yeah. Well, not necessarily. But I get your point, yes.
Yeah.
I was actually just learning about in one of my classes that excuse me.
There's no excuse for you.
Oh god, this is.
Oh, you played yourself so hard.
Oh, we're back. I took the meme too far. I don't even remember what I was gonna say. Whatever.
You get them next time, but mission failed. We'll get them next time.
That's a good segue. Do you think that so that mission failed, we'll get them next time, is a quote from Call of Duty? Do you think that violent video games have...
No.
Yes.
Ooh, let's discuss. So the question I was getting at, which you guys both so eloquently picked up on, do you think violent video games have a direct impact on violent behavior?
Yes.
No.
Right.
I mean, like, there have been studies in both directions. Nothing that I can cite off the top of my head.
Sure.
But, like...
Beginner. Noob. Sorry, I was looking for noob, but it just said beginner. Yeah.
I think it's not... Well, when you have... Especially when it comes to, like, younger kids, because younger kids can't buy violent video games. Let's remember that.
Yeah,
that most of the violent video... I mean, you can buy teen games. Teen games usually aren't that bad. They might be a little... But nothing that they won't see on TV anyway.
Or in, like, a PG-13 movie.
Exactly. It is... So if you're buying your kid violent video games, that's on you. It is not the purpose of TV, video games, social media to raise your kids. It is not their responsibility.
Yeah.
They put out
but that's
this...
not the question.
I know, but so, like, you can't blame... I don't think... Even if there are effects, it's more about the parenting than about the game itself.
But that's like proving your point, because you're saying that a parent buying their kid a violent video game, not good, right?
I'm saying if
they're like 5,
that's
like,
not
which I
necessarily,
know 5-year-olds have. That's
not necessarily. I'm not saying they're necessarily correlated, but like it's enabling, if anything. Like it makes it more difficult to. You like as a parent, you would have to be like, this stuff is not okay, even though you're playing it and seeing it all the time. Like that's a weird concept to teach to a kid. It's like, yeah, I can do this whenever I want, but it's not okay because it's a video game. Whereas if they aren't able to have it, you don't have to focus so much on teaching them that lesson. Does that make sense?
Sort of.
Sort of. It's like I think what you're trying to say is that it is a video game, so you're supposed to, like, it's not real life, but at the same time, it's like the things that are in this, like, this is entertainment. Mm-hmm. You're using this platform of a video game, it's as entertainment. Yeah. But you need to remember that that's what it is, and it's not, nothing in there correlates to behavior in the real world.
And that gets into, like, psychological stuff, because there's
he does have studies.
There's developmental stages of children where
you're impressionable.
Yeah, and you're not able to really abstract things. Mm-hmm. And so, like, I think it's not until you're, like, honestly, like, 10, 11, 12, 13 that you're really able to, like, break apart, like, abstract things between, like, the real world and, like, abstract thought or virtual worlds and real worlds. And so, like, if you have a kid that's 7 and playing Call of Duty, like, it's going to be hard to teach them that this is separate and, like, this is not how the world works,
so,
at least in their bubble, because I mean there is war, but yeah.
So like that, I mean, your point is like different than mine, because it's kind of proving what I was like going for, is the fact that like I agree. I think that well, okay. I'm gonna start over. Basically, I'm saying that kids are impressionable, and that it has been shown that violent video games do lead not necessarily to violent tendencies, but violent tendencies. And nothing other than the fact that it teaches them the ins and outs of violence. I don't know how to work a gun. I never played Call of Duty. I never played, like, what was I playing? Brother play CSGO, Counter-Strike. And I think that at a certain age, like, whatever, if your 18-year-old wants to play a violent video game, that's fine. But, like, I think that for children, like, it is very impressionable, because they are learning what violence looks like. They're learning what capabilities these weapons have. They're learning, like, how, I don't know, especially, like, Call of Duty, if you're online, like, the community and the toxicity of that. But that's not innately.
They're learning what the N-word is.
Exactly.
And so and again, going back to, like, they're internalizing that. So what they see, they're taking that, and maybe they're not even thinking, like, this is what the real world is like, and, like, oh, I'm gonna go shoot someone. But they're learning, like, they're learning how to fight, and they're learning violence at.
So then, to counterpoint that, couldn't you say the same about film and TV, where if you're seeing, like a PG-13 movie, or like if you're 12 years old and you go to a PG-13 movie with your parents and there's like guns in it or whatever, you're seeing the power of these weapons and all that stuff. So can't the same be said for movies, TV?
I think it's in the way that the content is consumed, because
I was gonna say, I think there's sorry.
Oh yeah, okay.
No, keep going.
Thank you for not mansplaining.
Good.
So I think it's the way that the content is consumed, because video games are supposed to be played until you master them. Whereas if you see a violent movie, it's not like every night you're going to bed watching the same violent movie. And you can, and they will have the same effects if you're consuming them at the level. But the playing Call of Duty once and watching a violent movie once are going to teach your kids the same thing. But if you're watching a violent movie once or you have a kid who's watching a violent movie once versus a kid who's every night playing Call of Duty, it's like the lessons are vastly different, because one is repetitive and one is something that the kids is coming back to a lot.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I guess then my answer is that it doesn't really answer that question, but I don't think, whether or not that is true or not, it's not video games' fault. And I'm tired of people blaming it on video games, because you don't have to buy them for your children. Like, living, like, this is just a whole different discussion about parenting and disciplining, but like, you shouldn't be buying a kid under 17 M-rated games. Yeah.
And that's like the reason why you shouldn't buy them M-rated games under 17 is because they're impressionable. So like, I think we agree on that. And I think you're right. Like, a lot of the blame is put on Call of Duty, but like, they didn't make it because they're like, we're gonna radicalize a generation and make them...
a 6-year-old? Eat it up. Like, that's why we have the ESRB. Like, it's not for children, so don't give it to children.
Mm-hmm. I think if anything, it's a combination of the situation of having a child that is not...
What's the ESRB?
The for Entertainment
Standards
Ratings Bureau?
Ratings.
Yeah, it's basically like the...
I don't speak video games.
E for everyone, T for teen, M for mature.
Yep.
And then it's different.
E10 plus.
It's different in other countries too.
Yeah, there's the PEGI system in Europe.
Mm-hmm. The pegging system?
PEGI. PEGI. PEGI.
We did it.
I'm upset.
Shoot, I forgot what I was saying. Oh well.
Rating systems.
Oh yeah, I think it's the reason why the argument is so cemented with like a brand like Call of Duty is because it's this form of entertainment combined with children who are not unsupervised but unprepared, and who are enabled to consume that entertainment, wrongfully. Yeah. So I think the blame, while it does get entirely put on certain video games, it's not necessarily their fault. Like Darian's saying, it's the combination of the game and the parenting.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, fuck that 7-year-old. He is all to blame for his violent tendencies.
Exactly.
What?
I got you.
Thank you. No, I was being like, I'm making an example.
It's like, yeah, man, fuck 7-year-olds for playing Call of Duty. It's their fault entirely.
But I was specifically that one 7-year-old.
Oh, that one specific.
Yeah, that's why I got confused. I was like, he was a trapeze artist. What did he do? I was like, I don't understand. Did he kick you off? Literally?
Oh. That was a different 7-year-old.
I went to, this is a little life update for me. I went to the doctor yesterday.
Okay.
And
so no, we were hinted at what this was earlier.
I have a little note thing in front of me. It just says face disease. I went to the doctor yesterday. No, you're good. Don't go out of frame. And I had noticed for like, I don't know, 5 days or so, I would have these like circles on my face where skin would just be like, see ya, and it would just leave and fall off. And I was like, that's probably not good. And so I called my dad, or I FaceTimed him. I was like, hey, like, should I go to the doctor? He was like, yes. So I went to the doctor, and it was funny because originally the guy looks at me, he goes like, oh, okay, are you a wrestler? Without even like, with no prior information of what I was there for, he looks at me, he goes, oh, are you a wrestler? I was like,
do you have funny ears? Is that why?
No. I don't not have funny ears, but I was like, oh, no, I'm not a wrestler.
Oh my god.
For those of you who don't know, wrestlers often get cauliflower ear, which is like disgusting. I was like, no, why do you ask? He goes, oh, so what's on your face? That's how he said it too. What's on your face is impetigo. Impetigo? I don't know. Basically, it's common in wrestlers because it comes from a lot of skin-to-skin contact.
Ooh.
Which, he said that, I was like, Doc, I hate to break it to you. Don't think that's what it is. And he was like, well, you don't wrestle, so I guess that kind of makes sense. I was like, well, I go to the gym every day. And this is where he kind of hurt my feelings. I went, well, I go to the gym every day, so maybe like from gym equipment. And he goes, really? Like, so
No, he did
in
not.
the most subtle way.
No,
Just
he did not.
because he even asked me before, he's like, oh, do you wrestle? Implying that like, oh, I could see that. But then as soon as I told him that I go to the gym, he's like, well, really? You do?
That's funny as shit.
Yeah, so apparently the gym equipment at Point Park is fucking nasty. And people aren't wiping down the...
Gotta bring some baby wipes at young.
Wait, do you clean it before and after?
Now I do. I always clean it after because I'm like, I'm not gonna leave my sweat stains and stuff for people to... Because I at least I had the thought that maybe people would wipe it down after they're done, so that, you know, I was like, I don't need to wipe it down before.
You buffoon.
Yeah.
So, I go there, I wipe it before. I don't go to the gym very often, so like this is anecdotal evidence, not really. But so I wipe it before. I wipe all the pieces that have dust on it because no one's touched it. Like the little weighty parts where you can like change, adjust, like, you know, when you're like lifting things. I don't go to the gym a lot. So wipe all of it down.
The pin. It's called the pin.
I wipe the pin, all of it. If it's touching me, it's getting wiped.
So, Darian, do you get wiped? We're gonna...
Excuse me, what?
I need a minute.
That was your own joke.
Anyways, what do you think, we're just gonna not even talk about it. What, you're trying to get into the gym, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Are we okay?
Yeah.
I'm laughing because you said Darian's trying to get to the gym.
Get roasted by your own girlfriend.
Excuse you.
Oh no.
I've been to the gym more times than he has this semester.
Okay, we'll see how long that lasts.
Oh, absolutely. This is going to be the one and only time I visit the gym. CMU gym. That was it. Sorry.
All right, here.
Anyway.
No. We're going to stay on this. We will have you back later in the season, and we're going to see if who sticks to their word about going to the gym.
I don't want to go to the gym.
Exactly.
I don't want to. Let's go ahead and get that out of the way first. I don't
plan on going to the gym more. Like, this isn't something that, like, I'm like, oh, like, I'm gonna go to the gym more than Darian. No, it happened once. It was exciting. I left. Like,
oh, okay. I misunderstood.
I'm gonna be dancing now, hopefully.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Sorry, this is a little tangent, but I actually came straight from my Dancer Symposium auditions, and I think they went well, hopefully.
Ooh.
It's a semester... It's like per semester. They do a show every semester, and I've been in it for the past 2 semesters.
Do you have a background in dance? Like an extensive background?
I do, actually. I danced ballet for 15 years.
Whoa. I did not know that.
I was on Point. I got off Point because I broke my ankle, not from Point things. I
apologize. Please explain what Point is.
Oh, Point are those, so they're like soft ballet shoes, and then on Point is, Point shoes are the ones that have the little box at the bottom so you can stand on your toes. Yeah, so I did that. I did a lot of dancing, but
wait, so you broke your ankle on Point?
Not because of Point. I broke my ankle because I was dumb and tried to do a flip on a trampoline and I broke my ankle. So
it'd be like that sometimes.
Yeah.
Wait, so when was that? When you broke it?
10th grade.
Oh, okay.
So years ago, and then I had been on Point for 4 years before that, and then my ankles were weak already, and my ankles were too weak to continue.
Break the ankles.
You got white people ankles.
Yeah.
Why people have weak ankles? Watch any horror movie.
Or any basketball game. Or any game in the NBA, NFL, wherever you want to put it. Ankles are getting broke.
But yeah, so I don't...
Why are white people always falling?
Exactly. Like in horror movies, like they will always trip. Every time.
Or even like in just every day, like you see an old white person, they're like, oh no, they fall, make a big deal out of it.
Are there any black people on the life alert ad? Like, I fall and I can't get up.
I don't know, maybe one of the ambulance people is African American.
But I brought up the dance thing because I don't plan on going to the gym. I plan on I just like doing it. Like it's like every piece is an hour a week of rehearsal. So I plan on doing that. So maybe if you want to come back and see who exercises more per week.
I'm done. Wait, so is this dance symposium? Is that what you said?
Dancer symposium.
Is it all ballet, or is it like modern and?
It's mostly contemporary and hip hop,
Okay.
with occasionally jazz. I was in a ballet piece last year. That was really cool. Musical theater, all different types. We have tap this year. But yeah, basically choreographers create pieces, and then dancers audition for them, and at the end there's a big showcase.
When it comes to dance for me, so I used to dance. I used to date a dance major, and she was in like pieces, stuff like that. So I'm very not savvy, but like I kind of know my way around a little bit of dance culture. And I would go to see different shows or showcases that they're doing, and some of the pieces I'm like, okay, like this is awesome, like this is really cool. And then there are some pieces where I was like, what are you doing? There was one where a bunch of people come out and there's like this like eerie music, and they're all just sitting there just like scratching their arms. I was like, what?
I've been to some of those.
And people in the audience are like, oh, it's very like postmodern. I was like, what? They're scratching.
That looked like crack.
They got ashy elbows. What you want? And they're like, wow, that was like eczema. Yeah, I don't know. It's the same thing with like art. Like I'll see some things, I'm like, wow, like I could never do that. And then it's like another piece of artwork where it's like a line through the paper that's like, oh, it's really exploring the division. What? No, it's not.
I think the dance thing, especially with the people like scratching the arms, that actually, I'm pretty sure that movement started and was mostly like led by a woman named Martha Graham, who said like,
we're getting a history lesson.
Ooh, I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready.
So basically she said like, screw all of these very, restrictive boundaries. Like I'm going to make dance like whatever I want. There was one dance she did where she was in a tube. She was like in a little like fabric tube, and she just kind of like.
Was she white?
Yes. Her name is Martha Graham. So she decided to push the boundaries. So then what you get from that is like modern, postmodern, like really weird stuff. So people can basically say, how can I either get a message across or make something look pretty in a way that is as far as dance from possible? Like, how can I push the limits of dance? And sometimes it falls flat.
Well, see, and that's my thing is I wouldn't even categorize that as dance.
Yeah.
You scratch.
Well, because it was like the piece itself. I'm not going to reenact it, but it was like
do it.
These people were like kneeling and they're like scratching like a drug addict. I was like, okay, and then they would get up.
The opioid epidemic.
Exactly. They would get up and then they would like run to the audience and they'd be like, and like back and forth. I was like, what? I wouldn't like categorize this as dance. I would sure it's art. It's art I don't get, but it's art. But I wouldn't categorize it as dance, like in the dancer showcase. Because right after that, there's people like tap dance, like I was like, okay, like I get that.
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to make you do. Is be like, is it dance? Like it makes you think. It's like, is this count as dance? Is movement dance? Is like.
I don't like that.
I mean, I don't love them. Martha Graham in a tube. That's a long piece of her like. She like emerges from the tube.
White tube looking like toilet paper. Darian, what are your thoughts on that?
On what?
Tubes.
What were we just talking about? You said I don't like that. What do you?
I don't. I think people get to like just try to be like it's almost like fake wokeness, and people are like, I'm just gonna say it, like not like what Gillette did, but like people are just trying to push things in a way that's really not necessary, and it's just to get attention, and it's so extra, and it's like like sure it's art, but like you're not really doing anything special because you're just doing weird shit.
Well, I feel
like it's like what's a musical artist, and I can't think like I think what you could compare it to was kind of like what a good example would be like when Lady Gaga first like hit the scene. Everyone was like, whoa, like this is some weird shit, but like kind of hit the mainstream in a way, and it's like it's not trying to be weird for the sake of being weird. I don't know. Like
I feel like the reason
that's pointless to me.
I feel like the reason why I don't really fuck with it as much is just because if you're categorizing it in the same vein as dance, like if you're going to a dance showcase and you see that, it's like, okay, this doesn't require a lot of technique. It doesn't require, like,
exactly.
For me, it's like, you know, dancers, like I've seen for years people who have like worked hard and perfected this craft. It takes a lot of dedication and, you know, outside work, and then to see something like this where it's like, it's, scratch. To see some scratch, it's almost like degrading to people who have put like their whole life into trying to perfect like this form of art, what have you, and then for them to call it the same thing.
I agree with that totally.
I think that's where my kind of...
Do you think that like that abstract artists... Oh, time.
I was just checking the time.
That abstract artists are taking away from like Renaissance painters because they're drawing squares on canvases versus drawing the Last Supper?
It depends. There's abstract art that is like good.
Yeah.
It's like that's.
Well, I think it's a very fine line between showcasing talent and then proclaiming something as talent.
It's that, yeah.
Okay.
Because art is only becomes art when someone declares it as such.
Mm-hmm.
But
fucking art right.
Like, because so like we see like a painting with like just a line diagonally through the canvas, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's art. I'm like, dude, fuck you, that's not art. But like,
but if it's somebody famous, like Banksy is a famous artist, if you're like, oh, this is a Banksy piece, he's got a line through it, then people will be like, ah, yes, $2 million for that. And it's like, okay, just because you declared that it's art doesn't mean that it's, I don't know. It's very fine because it's like subjective.
I don't know where I was going with that point. I like started and I just kind of left it. I don't know, but like I just don't think that it. When it comes to like paintings, I guess I don't know where I'm going with this.
I mean, but like
I'm just spewing words and I have ideas in my head, but I can't articulate them.
Yeah, but isn't that the great thing about art? Is that like, you know, the people that Michael were sitting with that were like, oh, it's a postmodern critique on, like they think it's art, and you know what? Michael will be like, what the hell was that? Like they're scratching themselves. Like,
yeah,
you can have different reactions to it, and I think that's like great. And I also like. It's also weird to put a piece that's so out there like that next to like a tap piece, and that is, but yeah, it's art in its own way, and people can like it and people can hate it, and like that's the point of it, is for people to be like, I'm gonna discuss it, like, you know what, they did their job because we're sitting here in a podcast like discussing
years later. Yeah,
years.
I think
like a year and a half.
I think okay, I've got something now.
Okay.
I think actually because we were like talking about art in and of itself, but like that's. Art can be anything, but like let's say like if it's painting versus painting, as we're comparing dance, like to say that was dance, when it seemed like to me like the way you described it sounds more like acting and just blocking. Like that sounds like more of like
just like choreographed movement.
Yeah, but that is dance.
But
like no, it's like that is like with the scratching and like whatever emotions they're conveying. That's more. It seems more like an acting performance rather than a dancing performance. Whereas
there was no sound, it was more like miming.
Yeah, even that. So like
there's like a box.
But like if we were to say like a line through the thing versus the Last Supper, like they're both paintings, but then getting into the discussion of art is something different. But if I was like this piece of tissue is a painting, you were like, no, the fuck, it's not. You can't compare that to the Last Supper and all this. Like, it's not a painting. It's it's a piece of tissue.
Or like
it's a different
piece of paper with like, you know, these word prints on it. Like, okay, there's ink on paper. That doesn't mean it's you know,
a drawing.
It doesn't mean it's a drawing. It doesn't mean it's like an essay.
Exactly. So
From I don't think my ink on paper is a painting.
It's a painting.
I don't think that stuff. So I think for us to say that it doesn't qualify as dance is a valid argument. It may still be art, but it's not dance.
I think the language surrounding what you're discussing is important.
Yeah. So
like to say something is art is very different from, or to say something is dance is completely different from saying something is art.
Exactly.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts, Hannah?
No. I mean, I think I said what, like, yeah, again, very subjective, and yeah, I like that we're talking about that. That's like, that's really exciting for me to like hear an intellectual discussion about dance. Like, I don't get that very often.
And to your point, like, as much as we sit here and we're like, I don't think that's dance, I mean, or like, I don't really think that that's art, here we are talking about it like a year and a half later, discussing whether or not it is art. So in that vein, it's kind of doing its job.
Yep.
They always win.
All right, I think that's going to go ahead and wrap it up.
Wait. There is one more other thing I wanted to talk about. I hope it doesn't take too much time.
No, you're good.
But Ariana Grande released a new song. 7 Rings.
7 Rings.
You mean
Stream
Soulja
7
Boy
Rings.
released a new song?
On Spotify.
Yeah, there's stuff about her stealing his flow, yes. But I don't know, I guess I just want to use this as our platform. But
I love her.
it's not a bad song. It's fine. It's not great either. But I just think
thank you next.
I just think it's so funny that everyone is gassing her up when if you listen to it, except for like the first couple verses, it's pretty much mumble rap. But everyone will shit. The only rapper I can name is like Lil Pump. But like everyone else on Twitter will shit talk any mumble rapper. The Tekashi 6ix9ine for various reasons.
Yeah, we're not gonna get into that.
But Ariana does it. And they're like, oh my God, yes, Ariana slay. Oh, she really did that. Oh, she queen of rap now.
Yeah. That was like...
Really? It's still mumble rap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
All I have to say is, yeah.
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 Yeah, I'd like to solve the puzzle.
Yup.
That didn't make any sense.
You know, I think that's where we end the episode. I think we ended on the hee. Yup.
Amazing.
We can actually discuss that a little bit more in our footnotes episode. We're going to be recording another episode and
with Hannah,
possibly a new series that we may do for certain episodes.
Sure.
So last week's episode, we discussed like a couple controversial topics.
The big points we had were Kevin Hart, Louis C.K., and the GameStop woman.
Yes. So
I have thoughts.
Yes. So we're gonna do a kind of sister series to this to the regular episodes called Footnotes, and we'll kind of go in, like maybe rediscuss, touch on a couple things, make any corrections. That will be exclusively on our Patreon. Which, by the way, thank you to our patrons.
Thank
we
you to our
appreciate
patrons. Hannah is one of our patrons.
So if you're interested to hear maybe that discussion, might get a little heated. We'll see what happens. I'm interested. I'm
Hands
excited.
will be thrown.
Hands will be thrown.
We change settings to a boxing ring.
So yeah, if you're interested to see that, go ahead and go to our Patreon, patreon.com/Wittiots. That's Wittiots. If you want to watch the full episode, it's on YouTube at the same spelling.
Yeah, YouTube/Wittiots. YouTube.com/Wittiots.
Yes. Follow our social media, all that shameless plugs.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun.
Thank you
for
Hannah,
being our first female guest.
Yeah, groundbreaking.
Honestly.
On the day of the Women's March in Pittsburgh, of course.
Yo, it's like,
I forgot that was today.
Yeah, dude, this is like, I think this is the 1 year anniversary. Well,
2 year, 3 year.
You know, it's the 1 year anniversary of our first recording. Well, like, so this will be released. This will be released on our anniversary. But like, this is also the same day that we recorded it because if you remember,
I think we end with a 1, 2, 3 respect women.
I think that is
1, 2, 3
respect women.
All right, for Hannah, Darian, and myself, we will see you guys next week. Thank you for tuning in.